Ever wonder what sets the winners apart from the losers? And what does it really take to be a winner? My name is Federico, and I'm a young, successful entrepreneur passionate about sports, real estate, mindset, and business. If you are just like me, then the Winning Ways podcast is meant for you. Yo, welcome back to Winning Ways with Fred. My name is Federico, and I am your host. Guys, special show for you guys today. Heavy note-taking day, especially for you young men out there or young women out there. We have a 20-year-old stud who's killing it in real estate. But before I introduce him, please, as always, share the show. That's the way I grow the show. I'm never going to run ads on this show. Even when I become a top 2 podcast worldwide, I find it annoying when I hear ads on podcasts. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. Please share. And this one's one you're going to want to share. Now, with that being said, I'm going to introduce my guest. Aaron, how are you, bro?
I'm great. It's great to connect with you and honored to be on your show.
Yeah, man. Thank you for taking the time. I love that you're 28 years old. We're young, man. And let's show younger men how they could get to the level you and I are. We're still 1% of where we want to be in life, but we're ahead of them and we could show them little things that we've done to get here, right? So give them a little background on how you started off in the real estate game and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. I wouldn't say I have it all figured out. I guess like a lot of us, it's a grind and a journey. So, it's great to connect with people like yourself.
Thank you.
So to answer your question, my name is Aaron. I live in Houston, Texas. I work in the real estate and insurance industries. My 9 to 5, I do insurance, and my background is also in construction lending. So I kind of offer those two parts of the business, the insurance, and then my background in lending too.
Beautiful, man. And how'd you get started there?
That's a great question. So I got my real estate license when I was in college. So that was 2014. And I started out just apartment locating. So I guess I was kind of doing the normal school thing. I kind of knew a bit about real estate, kind of big picture, not very much. I was walking home from class and I saw a flyer on on the side of the road. And it said, they were recruiting, for real estate agents. So, I ended up calling the number, ended up being, connected with someone there. I got my real estate license, and I help people, start apartment locating. So locating apartments and homes for, students at the university. And that's how I started.
Bro, and was real estate your ultimate goal when you were growing up, or is that something that you started doing after certain things didn't work out?
Yeah. So, it's interesting. I guess things kind of change as time goes by. At least at a young age, I knew that real estate was going to be some part of my life. I never knew if it was going to be my full-time gig, or, just kind of on the side, but I knew that I had to figure it out. And I knew that it wasn't going to come all at once. It would come over time. Right. And it's kind of funny seeing that. I wouldn't say come to fruition, but, a lot of it is just, putting one foot in front of the other, even though, things aren't clear to you.
Yeah, it's starting to come to fruition at this point. I mean, step by step, like you said it. I love that. With in regards to, you started off in real estate, you got into the brokerage. How'd you get into the insurance side of things?
Sure. I guess, frankly, I got recruited to.
But both.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of time has passed, but basically when I was in college, I had my real estate license. And then I guess fast forward to last year, I got recruited by, an insurance company to come and work for them. And it sounded, like a pretty solid deal. And it's interesting because I find that there's not many people talking about insurance.
Yeah.
Because insurance isn't,
Not the sexy thing, bro.
Yeah, it's not a sexy thing. It's not, you don't see, it's not like brokerage where you see the glitz and the glamour and wow, look at all these shiny objects, right? But at the end of the day, insurance is an important part of the game.
Big time, bro. Big time. We just bought a property out in Sarasota where the Hurricane Ian almost hit, man. And like, we were talking about it. Imagine we didn't have insurance then.
Yep. That's it. Proof's in the pudding.
No, especially if you're starting off. And sometimes, thinking about insurance, like, right, it's in our heads, and I think most people's heads, it's an obvious. But I started off in real estate wholesaling. That was how I started New Western Acquisition. My second deal that I sold, primarily fix and flips, the gentleman didn't put insurance in the property. half the property caught on fire while the contractors were working. He didn't have the capital to basically pay for it. There you go. His savings went to hell, basically.
Yep. Yeah. Prime example. That's
Yeah.
those are tough lessons you don't want to learn, but at the end of the day, you want to be sure that you're taken care of, right? You have the right coverage.
You gotta do your due diligence. It was a little sad too, because the gentleman was like 59, and
Mm.
he had saved, basically, he said, for like 8 years to do this. And lesson learned, everything happens for you, not to you. So let's go back to you, brother. In the regards that you're saying, you grew up wanting to get into real estate. Why? I know I was into it too, and I'll tell you my why after. But why was it in your head to do real estate?
Yeah, it's funny. I guess I would probably say my grandpa.
Okay.
My grandpa, his full-time gig was not real estate. He was actually a teacher. So, growing up, I remember going to their house, throughout the year, but I'd spend time with him during the summer, and, he had little rental properties. And I would kind of, you kind of see him, fixing one of the units, or talking to the tenants, or collecting rent, and, just kind of operating it that way. And it was nothing fancy. It was more of just, he was a teacher. That was his full-time gig. I guess he eventually retired and kind of, worked on his properties. But to me, that kind of planted a seed almost, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it was neat how, he was able to have his career, and then also, later on working on his rentals too.
Yeah. So is that something you're looking to get into too, owning rental properties?
Potentially, yeah. And there was actually, I don't know if you're familiar with South Padre Island in South Texas.
I'm not, no.
Yeah, okay. It's let's see. I'm trying to. It's hard to compare it to Florida, because Florida is so beautiful, I mean, Texas is beautiful too. It's just our sand, our sand is a little different. So I would say mostly in South Texas are the prettiest beaches. Kind of, I'm very biased because I'm from Corpus Christi, but Corpus Christi and south of that. But anyways, so there's a place called South Padre Island, and in South Texas, kind of near the Mexico border. And this was back in the 80s. And my grandpa, I forgot which year, I think it was around 1982 or 3 or so. And they had the opportunity to buy some land down there, and there was nothing, right? Back then there were just rattlesnakes, and these uncharted camping grounds you could go to, maybe like a little state park down there. That was about it. There was no development whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's funny going there now, and you can see all these condos and vacation rentals, and they developed all these nice amenities for families and people coming in, and tourists. And my grandpa owned a few of those lots. I think he must have paid, less than a few $1,000s for them. It was, basically nothing, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone assumed this is stupid. Why would you buy land out here? And he had plans to do some construction on there, to build, some duplexes or build some units with his friend. They were excited about it, and time went by, and they just kind of got caught up in their own grind, and it never happened.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so it's kind of funny looking, going there to South Padre Island, and kind of seeing, there was an opportunity for him. Maybe people thought they were crazy for buying these stupid lots in the middle of nowhere, but look where it is now, right? It makes you wonder what could have happened, right?
Wait, so what happened to them though? Did he sell his land?
Yeah. So he actually ended up selling them later on. So I guess he bought them. He had these plans. I didn't get the full story, but for whatever reason, he just kind of, said, no, I have other priorities to take care of. He sold the land, and then that land now is, all developed, and,
He probably doesn't want to talk about it because he's like, damn, I missed out.
Yeah. It I don't know where specifically it was, but I know that I know the general area, right? So I don't know, it's one of those things. It makes you wonder, what if he had that sort of mentorship or guidance, or kind of that financial education, to be able to be in a position to where he can confidently go forward and say, hey, let's do X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe having mentorship and guidance is huge. But again, I mean, he did have something that most don't, which is courage to buy a land when everybody's saying not to. I feel like, I don't know your grandpa, but he had the idea. Maybe people like talked him out of it because you're like, oh, this is not going to work out.
Yeah, yeah, and it could have maybe been a generational or kind of a mentality sort of thing.
Yeah,
Obviously that generation, the Great Depression, World War II,
for sure.
kind of keeping everything close to the chest, not asking for help, that kind of thing. Which in its own regard, I think is, a good thing. But at times, you kind of you got to reach out and tell people what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree, bro. And on that note, have you been benefited by mentorship or coaching?
Yet in a way, yes. And I guess the reason I answer it that way is because, we have the internet, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny, you can get on Instagram, you can get on YouTube, you can get on Facebook, and some guy halfway across the world can be your mentor, right? So it's funny where it's kind of this paradox where anyone can be your mentor, but at the same time, that's for nothing unless you take action, right?
I agree. I agree, bro. Do you believe in paid masterminds, paid friend, like paying for friends, joining masterminds and surrounding yourself with people like-minded like yourself?
I've never personally done that,
No.
but I wouldn't be against it.
No.
And the reason being is that, it's funny, we were talking about my grandpa. There were, less than a handful of lessons that I learned from him. And I guess maybe some funny, not funny, but just kind of, mundane ones would be always take care of your feet, right? So, if you
Always
can
take care of your feet?
of your feet. Yeah. And he said, if you're wearing bad shoes or if your feet are hurting, you're going to be ineffective. Right. So always take care of your feet, always take care of your eyes. And those were two things. And the third big lesson he told me was, Aaron, you get what you pay for. Um, and I've always taken that to heart where, a lot of times maybe you want to cut a corner, maybe you want to cut on costs and you think you're coming out on top when at the end of the day, there's a reason why you pay for services because you receive a good service that helps you.
Yeah. No, bro. I haven't heard the take care of your feet before though. That's why I was like, oh, that was interesting. Take
Yeah,
care of your
yeah.
feet, take care of your eyes, and you get what you pay for. It's true though, man. It's true. And like I asked you that question, because a lot of people that I interview in the pod are in different master. I mean, at this point, there's millions of them, right? And to point out what you're saying, I joined one, I paid X amount because I was like, all right, it's cheaper, but there's a lot of people in it, and this guy's known. It was not the best. Now I'm in RTA Syndicate, which do you know who had my let and Andy Frisell?
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram, but just a little bit, not too. I don't see much of their stuff.
Yeah, so Andy, he runs a company. It's called First Form. It's kind of like a Nike. He's trying to replicate it. But the beautiful thing about it is that it's all American jobs. He's doing it all here in the States. Like that, that to me is huge. Very patriotic. So I follow that at my let as well. And they have this mastermind called RTA Syndicate. And each week they do weekly calls, them with you, obviously the group, but they touch certain subjects, bro, like social media, leadership, sales, marketing. And there, bro, I've met two or three people that now I've done business with, and have given me 10x the return that I've paid from joining the mentorship, I guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, prime example. I mean, you're seeing the fruits of that, right? And it's funny. We're living in such a. I mean, just look at us right now, right? We're not in person. We're doing this, online,
Yeah,
um, and then it's being recorded and uploaded to an online platform, right? And it's funny how this is also in, I guess, in the span of human history, this is also new to us, right? And it's interesting, kind of this time you're living in, because if you lived back in the day and your father was a shepherd, right? And you were his son, that was your life. That was what you were going to become. You were going to become a shepherd, and that was your livelihood. And there were really no questions about it, right? Whereas now with the internet, you can connect with anyone you want. You can reach out and do all these different things and kind of build that tribe of of people that that young men are really really searching for.
dude, facts. Like we live in the opportunity era. Right now, there's no excuses. Like you said, do you have a mentor? Kind of. I have it on YouTube. Like if you don't have the money to pay for a mentorship or you don't want to pay for mentorship, there's no excuses because it's all online. You could follow them. You could go to YouTube, Twitter, whatever it is. I agree with you, man. And it's exciting with everything going on, especially in the real estate. Are you familiar or have you like dove into the whole blockchain when you combine it with real estate and like maybe buying a property and dividing it to NFTs? Have you dove deep into that yet or no?
Really, there's a friend of mine here in Houston, here in town, who works in that. And he explained a little bit to me, but I'm not very well versed on it.
I'm trying to grasp it because the whole crypto Web3 crypto, I understand the Web3, trying to grasp it, trying to grasp the whole NFT world, the utilization behind it. Because some of them, the Bored Ape monkeys, are selling for $800,000, but what do you get out of it? It's just a picture. That to me, I get it. I'm not trying to sound old school. I know it makes sense, but like to me, I'm like still trying to grasp that. You know?
Yeah, it's funny. One of those things where, real estate, the reason, I guess amongst many reasons why people invest in it is because you can see it, you can touch it, you know what it looks like, you know where it is. But with an NFT and, kind of the crypto thing, that's fine. But to an extent, it could make people uncomfortable because in a sense, maybe they think it could vanish or they're afraid, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, bro. This is a question, just your opinion, right? With everything going on, interest rates going on, what do you think is going to happen? Obviously, this is an opinion. It's not like you're stating this is going to happen. I'll tell you mine after two. What do you think is going to happen within the next 2 years with the economy, with real estate, with everything?
I wish I had a crystal ball and I'd be a real rich guy if I knew the exact answer.
Bro, you are going to be a rich guy though. Like, it's just a matter of time if you stay consistent with what you're doing.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to answer. I guess, I can speak on Texas just given that I live here.
For sure.
In Texas, as you're in Florida, you know as well, we're having this influx, a large migration of people coming in from other states, right? Maybe New York, California, Illinois, wherever, coming to Texas for different opportunities.
Yeah.
And Texas is a very unique and robust economy. We have energy, oil and gas, obviously a big real estate market, medical, some of the best hospitals in America. I'm also very biased because I live in Houston, but Houston has some of the best medical in America. And we're in a housing shortage. So, I guess we're needing a lot of those builders and developers to really create that infrastructure. And it's happening at an interesting time because a lot of the growth and development and economic boom happened post World War II. And of course, over the decades, if you're studying different trends, of course, we've had development, spurts maybe in the 80s or other times over the past few decades. But a lot of the baby boomers, they're getting tired. Maybe they're selling their businesses. They want to cash out and enjoy themselves, which is fine. Hey, you've worked hard. And a lot of our infrastructure, I don't know if I could say the word crumbling, maybe that sounds dramatic, but there's a lot of work to be done. And it's neat how we can be part of that.
It's great. I mean, we could actually make a huge change by doing little things like this, man. And I like that you touched on that, the housing shortage, because that's a fact. And they're saying, I was reading an article that the supply won't meet the demand till 2026 or so. And that was for Florida. I wasn't reading for Texas. But I think one big impactful thing that's happening right now, that wasn't happening in the past history, if you study history and all that, is big funds buying single family homes. I guess a portfolio of, because they're not buying one by one, they buy a brokerage that has a bunch of them. And those houses are not going to come back in the market, man. They're not. They're going to keep them. They're going to hold them there and they're going to rent them out. Like they don't need to sell. They have so much capital. A BlackRock, $10 trillion under asset. They're not going to sell that property. They're going to hold it. They're smart. The wealthy, the richest people, I think Grant Cardone says this, man. It's like the rich people sell. Wealthy people never sell.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it goes.
Yeah. And, I guess just looking historically, it's so interesting because, again, we haven't really seen much of that in the modern era, right? I mean, if Mr. Jones down the street, maybe he owns a few houses on one street, those belong to Mr. Jones. They didn't belong to, some large company who's not gonna be able to sell them. And I guess, of course, you can, talk about technicalities where technically, if someone's financing their house, they own your house, right? But you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's another one. Oh, I mean, on top of that, it's like, once you fully pay out your house, you still owe taxes. And if you don't pay
Yeah.
taxes on the land, your house is gone, brother.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. It's never fully yours, but at least a majority of the portion will be. But yeah, it's an interesting time, man, with inflation, with the supply, with big funds buying properties. I mean, I don't take things negatively. I don't see them as like, oh, the world is ending. it's just a new opportunity. That's it. Like new opportunities to find ways to win.
Yeah, and I think that that's a nice way to frame it as well, is that, it's easy to get overwhelmed and pissed off and angry, especially, you're having a great day, you get on Instagram and you see, someone who's having all this success, and maybe you had a hard day, right? And all you're thinking about is, man, I had such a hard day, and look at this guy, he just closed this big deal and God knows where, right? So a lot of it is, really just staying focused and not giving up.
Not giving up, bro. And like I did an episode probably 3 weeks ago on like following the right people on social media. Because like one of the other things now is like social media is becoming so polarized, so political. Like everybody has their opinion and they want to share it. Like, dude, nobody gives a fuck. Keep it to yourself. Like that's it. Like let's post happy, positive things, or like let's connect, let's talk, or like let's appreciate our differences. Because nowadays it's just like the vision, man, and it's like there's just reasons to get mad. I've had to like really slow down on my social media intake the past year, really after COVID, because it was just, bro, it's cancer. It's like you go in there, it's like, oh man, I'm getting pissed because for what? It's not worth it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, that's one thing I'm looking at, I've, really been working on to be more conscious of, at least these past few weeks or month or so, is really being careful what what you look at and what you hear, right? Even listening to music. And it's funny, I was listening to this YouTuber and the other day, and she was talking about how she went 30 days without listening to music.
Yeah.
Right. And, you think about it, of course, it's tough. You go to the gym and they're kind of playing their own music playlist or whatever. But if you really sit down and listen to the lyrics, they're telling you a story. They're putting something in your mind. And a lot of times it's not good, right? Maybe you have a vision to be a business owner, to be in a relationship, to have and to have a good life. And the music that you're listening to is incongruent with that, right? So it was interesting hearing her talk about this and how it helped her to kind of almost reset her mind in a way that you don't really realize a lot of the messages that are being put into your head when you want to live a different way.
Bro, for sure. And as humans, we're not meant to be bombarded with all this negativity at all times. And like putting into example, like your grandpa, back in the day, they received the bad news, yeah, on newspaper, on TVs, but they had to like do something to look at that. Nowadays, it's on our phones, notifications. Now everybody knows, everybody's talking about it. So it's like it's really easy to get down on yourself. And I like that you brought that up, man, because music's a prime example. Music, movies, little things that you don't think about. They're sending like the wrong, exactly, not the wrong, but not congruent with what you think or who you want to be. And I see that a lot now with younger people. I have a sister, she's 17 years old. She loves Bad Bunny. Listen, I get the Bad Bunny, but dude, his music, what he says, it's like, bro, cover your ears. Like, man, don't get me wrong. I'm young. I like to party. I'm into that. I've done it. But there's one like the Pepa song, dun, 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 like take ecstasy. That's what we're partying. That's what we're singing. Let's take ecstasy.
Yeah.
Little things like that, man. And it's funny you say that too, because this last 40 days, bro, I was always like first thing in the morning, I'd get up, try to read the news, finance, like da da da. And I was noticing my day was I was enraged. And like, I'm very passionate about certain things. One of them being freedom, bro. Like, I'm about freedom, like always. If you're not about freedom, it's not like I'm not going to like you, but like, I'm very passionate about it, right? And with everything going on, it's kind of against that. So I'd get in and I'd get pissed. Last 40 days, man, what I did is I joined Tony Robbins' Inner Circle. It's $100 a month. And I listen to his podcast every morning. It's not a podcast. It's like this show on like how to better influence, how to master yourself, master relationships. And bro, my mood has been like, I'm happy, I'm concentrated, I'm focused, I'm ready to reach new goals,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you just said it as well. I mean, who do you want in your ear? The guy telling you to take ecstasy, or, the guy who's telling you to be a better version of yourself, right? To me, it's a no-brainer.
No, and it's like, why bro, I could go on this for hours, but it's like, why is this guy, Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, these people, they're not glorified the same way as Bad Bunny, Meek Mill, Nicki Minaj, like, man, it makes me question a lot of freaking things. But bro, we'll leave it at that there.
Yeah.
Do you read books?
Yes and no. I guess the reason I say that is because I've kind of been wrapped up with a lot of my own social media and making content and connecting with people. And I haven't, read a lot of physical copies of books recently, but I've been doing a lot of audiobooks.
Nice, nice. I asked that because I typically ask my guests, not all of them, but my guests that are in certain fields, like real estate, for example, a book that has really benefited them. Doesn't have to be a book. It could be a podcast. It could be a movie, but something that has inspired you and pushed you to go to that next level.
Yeah, it's let's see. I would say two books have impacted my life the most. And they both happened when I was 25. And they were number one, Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. And then number two was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And maybe there's a few guys that have a very similar experience to me. But I really think that those books spoke to me in a way that I don't think that any other books have. And it's funny, in when you talk about audiobooks, there were only, if you're talking about, brainwashing yourself the right way, I brainwashed myself with only those two books for all of 2019. That was all I listened to, was just those two books.
Obsessed.
Yeah. I became obsessed, and it was, they impacted me in a lot of positive ways, and kind of were almost a gut punch to where I actually want to be,
Yeah. No, that's great. I actually bought the Jordan Peterson book a month back. I just have so many books, but now that you said that, I'm going to read that. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Man, I've read that 3 times. Book is badass, man. And I'm going to do it. It's in my mindset to do it. I do this challenges. Andy Frisella, the guy I mentioned, have you heard of 75 Hard?
I have. I've done it.
Cool. Oh, you've done it? Nice, man. Awesome. So do you know how it's 75 and then there's 3 phases after that?
No, I didn't know about the 3 phases.
Nobody knows, bro. That's the thing. Or do you know, for example, that your first workout has to be you have to wait 3 hours in between workouts?
No.
Yeah. People don't know this, but so it's 75 hard. You got to wait 3 hours between your workouts. And then there's 3 phases after that of 30 days. So I did it all last year. I just finished 75 hard. I finished phase 1. So I'm going into phase 2, probably January now, in the month. But it's one of my goal for the end of that is to do the 48 by 4, which is run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. That's his challenge. That's David Goggins' challenge.
That sounds awesome. I haven't heard of that, but
dude, that sounds like you're gonna throw up by the end of it. It's testing your limits, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to train for it, and fuck it, man. It is.
That's cool.
Push yourself.
I mean, you may as well, right? I mean, the status quo is the exact opposite. The status quo. Not to rag on, not to rag on that.
No, rag on it, man. I feel like nowadays in today's day, like it's becoming popular to be that, to be just average, and I don't think we're meant for that, man. I don't think humans are meant for that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird. You see it everywhere. Maybe you see it, in the workplace or in social settings, or even just wearing clothes, right? I've just kind of been wearing normal clothes. Maybe you're wearing, jeans and, maybe a decent collared shirt. And then someone says, bro, what are you dressed up for? Well, for life, I'm just, I just, maybe you want to just wear something decent, right? Doesn't mean you're going to a wedding,
Yeah, man. No. I mean, if you feel good and you look good, if you look good, then you'll feel good. I guess there's a saying behind that I've read. I don't know who said it, but bro, great show, man. Where can my audience find you?
So I'm on, all the social media platforms. The biggest thing is I'm on YouTube. So my first and last name, Aaron Trevino. I live here in Houston, Texas. I do insurance. I have a background in lending, and I also have a real estate license. So a few different things. So you can see me on YouTube. I like to make content, very Texas focused, right? So about real estate, about construction, some new insurance content is coming up as well. So I'm on YouTube, Aaron Trevino, Instagram, Aaron P. Trevino, also on Facebook and LinkedIn. And we also have a Facebook group too. It's, again, it's very Texas focused, all the major metros, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio. It's called the Real Estate Investment Network. We're really just looking to kind of build that community of people who are all on the same page, just looking to grind and looking to give and do their best. And that's what our group is all about. So be honored to drop those in the show notes, and, glad to have y'all.
Yeah, this will all be on the show notes. Just send that over to me and I'll put that rest into the show notes. Guys, give this cat a follow. As you can tell, he's well versed. He knows the game. And a lot of you ask me, hey, how do I get into real estate? What do I do to get into real estate? Well, here's a prime guy to follow. He started it, he's doing it, and he's crushing it. And he posts content teaching you guys what he does, how he's doing it. I give him a follow, and it's great. Aaron, bro, thank you again for taking the time, man. Looking forward to doing another show with you soon, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I respect what you're doing. I think it's great, putting out, that positive message and really creating that community. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to what you see in what you do in the future. It's going to be good.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. It's easier to post negative things nowadays. So trying to do the opposite.
Yeah, keep at it. Keep at it.
Appreciate it, bro. Have a good one.